Hello, everyone. A very good evening to all of you. Welcome to the Undergraduate Webinar Series, an interactive online platform connecting high school students to the Ashoka community. I am Shaurya Chima, and I work with the Office of Outreach at Ashoka University. Thank you for joining us today's webinar Q&A with the admissions team. In today's webinar, Mannat, Kopal, and I will answer all your questions regarding Ashoka's undergraduate program and the admission process. Before we get started, I would like to inform our audience that round 3 admissions to Ashoka's undergraduate program are open. The deadline for this round is the 6th of April. You do not have to wait for your final 12 board marks to apply. You can also get a confirmed offer of admission and financial aid even before your final board results are announced. To our audiences, feel free to post any questions you may have in the Q&A box. So without any further delay, let's get started. I'll start with the first question. So the first question that we have is, what does the admission process entail?
Hi, so I will take this question, and before we begin to answer this question, I would also request everybody to maybe look at the screen for a while because I will keep referring to it. So I will lay down the basic framework of the admissions process. And I know you will all have questions about it, about the specificities of the process. So we can keep talking about it in the course of this conversation. So as you can see, there are 3 stages to the admissions process. Most of you applying in the 3rd round will be in the first stage, which is stage 1. So that stage is the application and assessments stage. So people who would have already begun their application and would be working on it, you would see the first point here is basically a summary of the application form. So to start your application, you will have to figure out, your academic scores. If you have taken any sort of standardized tests like the SAT or the ACT, you will also have some personal information and details that you fill out in your application. There are the 3 personal essays, a letter of recommendation, and a very expansive section on your non-academic engagements and interests. So this is basically the application form. And once you submit that for round 3 on the 6th of April, you will get a notification from us about your application status. And everybody who submits it for the round 3 will also have an assessment on 17th of April next month. So this is the second step of the first stage, which is the assessment stage. So once this is done, you will be notified of your shortlist status, and that will then bring you to the stage 2 of this process. So in the stage 2, what happens is that you will have an interview with a panel, and we will, I think, talk about it in the further course of this conversation, but that's basically the second stage. And based on your, engagement with the first stage and the second stage, you will hear from us about your decision. And once you receive the decision, you can move on to financial aid. So basically, very briefly, these are the 3 stages in the application process. So I suppose this is it, and we can move on and we can keep talking about this.
All right, thanks, Kopal. All right, so moving on to the next question now. What type of questions will be asked in the interview? I'm just curious, what is the need of submitting a candidate's intended major in the application?
All right, I can take this question. So, the whole process that Ashoka follows in its admission is a holistic process. This is something that is emphasized quite a bit. And what it means is that we do like to get to know candidates as a whole and not just kind of assess them on the basis of their marks or scores. There is a lot more to people, and that's what we like to kind of figure out. So the interview usually focuses on getting to know you better as individuals, because not everything can be gauged through the application that you submit. And having said that, when you're talking about what kind of questions are asked, there's no set structure to the questions that we ask individuals. We kind of just see where the conversation flows and pick up topics from kind of your interests, maybe certain other factors that are taking, certain other things that are happening around. So there's no specific topics that you need to prepare for. It's just a general conversation where we kind of want to get to know you better as individuals. And, as far as what's the need of submitting an intended major? As you all know, you're just kind of putting forward what major you have an interest in. Ashoka usually allows you to declare your major at the end of the third semester. So you don't come into Ashoka with the mindset of like pursuing your intended major. So you have quite a few subjects and quite a few choices that you get to explore in your first year. And that's something you can go through on the website. There are courses called foundation courses, which do allow you to explore a variety of subjects. Having said that, telling us about your intended major helps us get an idea of what it is that you as an individual are interested in at the moment. These choices can kind of change as you enter university, as you explore various subjects, but it gives us a starting point to just get to know you better as an individual. And also then, in the interview, we'd like to have a few discussions around your intended preference at the moment. So that's usually why we like to kind of know what your intended major is for general reasons, just to get to know you better as a candidate. There's no, there's nothing that we're kind of judging you on over there.
All right, thanks, Manat. So I'll just have a follow-up question with that. So usually the interviews would be, revolving around the application itself. We always advise students to go through that application. So would that be a good advice for the students, just for them to go through that application?
Definitely. So, before you come for the interview, we generally request you to kind of just glance through your application once again, so that, you can also kind of get kind of up to date with what extracurriculars you had done, what you had written in your application, and it allows us to have a much better conversation over, camera. And we kind of get to know you better also, because there are a lot of, there are certain questions in which you need to write certain things of interest to you. And, that just kind of generally gives us a starting point, and we can like take the conversation forward. And if you're also familiar with what you had written, it allows for the conversation to flow much more freely.
Awesome. All right. So moving on to the next question, is math mandatory for economics at Ashoka University?
Right. So I'll take this question. So maths is mandatory for economics at Ashoka. And I will also, Manat was talking about how majors are only indicative in nature. So that is correct. But, to study maths and a couple of other disciplines, for instance, mathematics, computer science, and physics, you need to have studied mathematics in your class 11th and 12th. And for physics, you also need to have studied physics in your class 11th and 12th. And this applies to both majors and minors. So, apart from foundation courses, any other course that requires math in the disciplines that I've spoken about, you will be required to do that. However, that being said, and there have been cases in the past where students who've not studied math have indicated economics as their first major. That's completely fine. Your majors are only indicative in nature, and you only declare the third semester. So at the stage of admissions, we will not penalize you for indicating a major for which you may not have the required qualifications. But this is just for you to know. And you can also look at the websites. I think we will give you the links for that in the chat box. So you should look at the discipline policy to see if you fit into that policy criteria or not.
Awesome. All right. So moving on to the next question now. I'm not a very good writer, but there is a lot more to me than that. Will that affect my chances of getting in?
A lot of us start university not being the best at everything, right? Even when I went to university, even when I'm sure my colleagues also went to university, there's a lot that we learned, and there's a lot that we have built upon and grown. So there's no such barrier as so to say, when it comes to one's writing skills. As again, like I said previously, Ashoka does emphasize a holistic process where we assess you on various parameters, not just one's writing skills. So there is nothing to say where, if you feel like you haven't written something that you feel is not that good, there are other parameters on which we'd like to know a candidate, and we'd like to get to know the full picture. So don't get too bogged down by like these nitty-gritties. Do your best, put your best application forward, and then your job, at least one part of your job there is done. Be confident in yourself, and I'm sure when you put forth whatever you put forth, it's your best it's your best try.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So moving on to the next question, and then I'll take up a few questions myself. So the next question we have for the admissions team is, if we have a valid SAT score, do we still need to give the AAT? Also, are there any provisions to take the Ashoka assessment online?
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Manat, please go ahead.
All right. So yes, everyone has to take the Ashoka aptitude assessment. Even if you have already taken your SATs, we do. And as you know, the assessment is a 90-minute plus a 30-minute assessment, where the 30 minutes are allotted for like an on-the-spot essay, where you're given a prompt and you have to write on that particular prompt. And there's also like a 90-minute 50. There are like 50 multiple choice questions which you have to answer, which generally just kind of gauge your critical thinking skills as well as certain other numerical and spatial skills that individuals have. There's no such preparation that is needed for this particular assessment, so don't be too worried that you'd have to like prepare a set syllabus for this particular assessment. You can come and give it. And again, I'm repeating, yes, it is compulsory for everyone who has submitted an application to come and sit for the assessment. As far as the second part of the question is concerned, yes, the assessment is happening online. There is, as of now, we are not taking, the assessment is not happening offline. So everyone will be taking the assessment online. And I think you get certain slots of like your preferred time. So you can select a time that is convenient to you and you can sit for the assessment on that day itself.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for that. And let me just take up the next few questions, and I'll throw some questions back at you, Gopal and Man. Yeah. And feel free to just add on anything if I miss out on anything at all. And for our audience, we will be sharing links actively. So please keep looking at the links. We have just shared the assessment link with you all. So please have a look at that. All right. So the next question is, for IB students who have recently received their scores, is there a minimum score required to apply? Short and simple, the answer is no. It was said at the beginning, I'm just going to reiterate that we follow a very holistic admissions process. So there are no cutoffs that we have. We look at the entire application in its entirety. The next question we have is, my daughter would like to apply for economics major. She scored only a 73% for maths in grade 11. However, the overall percentage is 82. Will grade 11 marks make a major impact? Again, the short and simple answer for this is no. We follow a very holistic admission process. At the same time, there is a reason we are asking for your 10th, 11th, and 12th expected grades. We are able to make a decision following the trend, and it's very normal for people to have a dip in their 11th marks as well. That's our end of working. So do not worry about your marks. We'll be looking at the application in its entirety, and all we require from you is to have maths to apply for economics. As long as you have that, you should only be worried about that. Next question that we have is, I can't afford Ashoka, so can Ashoka University provide a scholarship? Yes, Ashoka University provides a very robust needs-based financial aid. At the same time, we have also started a merit cum means scholarship for computer sciences and the sciences. So the need-based financial aid basically would revolve around the affordability factor. Again, I would emphasize that the admissions process and the financial aid process are completely independent of one another. Your admissions process will not depend on your finances. You will apply for a financial aid only after we give you a confirmed offer. So you can either apply for a need-based financial aid or a merit cum financial aid. Information for which is given on the website in brief as well. There are a few criteria that you may have to fulfill for the merit cum means scholarship. So please have a look at that. Apart from that, anyone and everyone can apply for a financial aid, for a need-based financial aid. And the financial aid form opens up after you receive a confirmed offer, and you have about 5 days to apply for that financial aid through the form that we open up. Am I missing something over here, Gopal, Manat? Awesome. All right. So moving on to the next question, and then I'll throw a few questions back at you all. So we have, what is the last date to submit the application in round 3? What if I submit a day or two later? So the last date to apply for round 3 is the 6th of April, which means that if you apply by 11:59 p.m. on the 6th of April, you'll be considered in round 3. If you apply the next day, basically after 12 a.m., then you will be considered in round 4. All right, so the next question we have for the admissions team is that I am applying in round 3 and I want to share my SEM 1 ISC marks. Can I do so? If so, in which section of my application do I upload my ISC SEM 1 marks?
Right, so I'll take this question. So I just want to say that we will eventually reach out to all the students to get their official board marks. So it's not mandatory for students to submit their board marks right away. But if you choose to do that, you can do so in your academic section. So in your academic section, you will see under class 12, there are a couple of ways in which you can talk about your grades. So one, if you currently are in school and have not graduated from school, you will most likely apply with predicted scores. So it would be either self-predicted or school predicted. So in one way in which you can factor in your SEM 1 marks into your academic performance is see to what extent you can base your predicted scores on your SEM 1 marks. So you should really review your SEM 1 marks and see what you expect in your SEM 2. So that is one way of really factoring in your SEM 1 marks into your application. And within that, there is a section to upload attachments. So if you really are keen on submitting your SEM 1 marks, you can upload your SEM 1 mark sheet there. However, it is not required. And if you wish to just enter your predicted scores, be it your own scores or be it scores from your school, you can do that as well.
All right. Sweet. Okay. So is there any particular round which has a higher rate of acceptance, or is it just uniform throughout?
Right. So I'll take this question. So, there is no particular rate round which has a higher rate of acceptance. However, that being said, we do encourage all the applicants to apply as early as possible, because we have noticed in the past years that early applicants who had applied to us earlier were at a great advantage of planning their finances in advance. And also we've noticed that in round 3 and round 4 students are usually busy with their board exams, so we really encourage them to apply earlier so they really know for sure what's going to happen with them and what sort of options they have after they are done with school and exams. And generally I think they have they're at a better position and have like a better mind space to really apply and engage with a very comprehensive process such as ours. So while we do not have a higher rate of acceptance in any particular round, we do encourage students to apply as early as possible.
Absolutely. So even I'll emphasize over here that, do apply in round 3 right now. It's much before your boards. You have plenty of time to apply. You have plenty of time to prepare for the assessment as well. So round 3 would be a really good time for the audience, who all are here interested. Please do look at applying in round 3. All right. The next question we have is based on upcoming NAP guidelines. Are you considering a 4-year undergrad degree curriculum from this year, or the current 3-year curriculum remains?
So it's an interesting question because it also sort of takes us to what the program was initially envisioned as. So, when Ashoka started in 2014, the program was supposed to be a 4-year program. But at that time, the UGC was not in favor of having universities give out degrees of BA and BSc at the end of 4 years. So we had to revise our curriculum and make it a 3+1 program. So currently, if you look at the website, if you look at the academics at Ashoka, you will see that Ashoka also offers another year after you're done with your 3-year degree, another 1 more year of education. So that essentially is really the university's initial plan of having a 4-year degree. So while I don't think currently we are in a position to say if we will go back to the initial plan of having a 4-year program, but the current program of 3+1 stays. And if you are really interested in, a true liberal arts experience where you can engage with things outside of your major as well, I really urge you to look at the website and see the ways in which you can really use your 1 year.
Right. All right. So the next question that we have is the admission to Ashoka generic? in the sense that does the university see how far you have established interest in the subjects one wishes to pursue, or does the career stream not play a role in the admission?
I wouldn't say it's exactly generic, right? You do have some interests at the moment. Like I've said before, those interests might change once you come to university and explore various other subjects. But at the moment, a lot of people have inclinations towards one particular subject or even two subjects. So in that sense, we do kind of have a look at how much you have engaged with your subjects. But that's also not the only parameter that we look at, right? There are a lot more things that constitute a good, a good candidate. So, kind of declaring a subject of interest does help us with the interview process also a little bit, since it gives us something to talk about, and it also helps us know you as an individual. But then again, there's no pressure to have like one specific subject that you must be interested in and that you must have kind of explored in depth. There is a lot of there's a lot of choice that you get when it comes to various aspects of the application. And it's to just reiterate what was asked in the question, it's not exactly generic, but it's not the Ashoka, the Ashoka application is not exactly generic, but it's not that specific either. So you don't need to get bogged down by such details. Just put forth your best application, and then we'll see what to do from there on.
Absolutely. Could not agree more with that. And the next question we have is, would the interviews be only for the shortlisted candidates? Since IB boards are commencing in the first week of May, what is the option for the interview?
I can take this question. Yes, there are certain, once candidates put forth their applications, once we receive the applications, we do shortlist candidates for the interview. And when it comes to the interview process, when it comes to the fact that, when can the interviews be held, since certain boards are commencing and certain exams are commencing, there is a lot of like freedom that candidates get in selecting their particular slots and timings. That there's like freedom that you have in that. So there's no strict timing or day that we impose on the candidates. There is some choice that the candidates have over there. So you can kind of, select which time and which day is convenient to you, and then we can kind of take it forward from there.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Mannat. So I'm just going to take again the next few questions, and I'll throw a few questions back at you after that. So the next question that we have is, I am from sciences stream and looking at doing a major in sociology. Is it possible? Yes, you don't have to have any requirements to pursue sociology and anthropology, so you can do that. Next question that we have is, I didn't have maths in 11th and 12th, but I've self-studied, so am I eligible for economics or CS? Unfortunately, not. We do require your marks in your 11th and 12th. So it's mandatory for you to have maths in your senior classes to pursue economics or computer science from Ashoka. Can I apply for more than one UG program at a time? So I'm just going to reiterate that the admission process or the application that you fill is not for any particular course. You are only applying as an undergraduate program. You elect your majors and your minors along with your co-curriculars only at the beginning of the fourth semester, basically. So you aren't applying for a UG program. You are just applying as a student to come into Ashoka. The next question that we have is, I am currently studying at St. Xavier's College, Mumbai. I joined the college in class 11, but there have been no contact classes the last 2 years. The teachers and students have not even met once. So is there a problem to get a recommender from college? Can I get a recommendation from class 10? So, there are two parts to this question. First of all, you don't have to physically go to the college or school to get a recommendation letter for yourself. In the application, when you go to the recommendation part, we only ask the details of your recommender, and an email will go out to your recommender, and you at the same time notifying that your recommender has been notified. Your recommender has to open the email and log into the link that is given over there, and then just write the recommendation, which will come directly to us. The second part is that you can get a recommendation either from your college or your school. We have a rule over here that as long as you have worked closely, either in a professional space or in an educational space, with your recommender, at least for a good 6 months, 6 months, 1 year is what we usually look at. That is good enough. You have to look at the recommendation letter as a credible document that will provide credibility to your application. So as long as you have worked with that person for a while, a good 6 months to 1 year, then there is no harm in getting a recommendation from either of the places. I'll just take up one more question, and then I'll throw a few more questions at you, Kupal and Manat. Except for maths in grade 11 and 12, are there any other subject prerequisites to apply for a BSc in economics and finance in Ashoka? Not really. It's just mandatory for you to have maths in your senior classes, and that's pretty much it. By senior classes, I mean in your grades 11 and 12. All right. So for the admissions team now, I have a few more questions. How much does our 11th and 12th marks matter, as they were highly affected due to COVID? Also, would maths SL do, or is it required at HL level?
I'll take this question. So, we want to say that as people who work with applications, we know that 11th and 12th has been very poorly affected for everybody, in India and even outside India. So we take full cognizance of that fact, and which is why I'd want to emphasize Ashoka's holistic admissions policy. So, there's no one particular parameter because of which you will be given admission or admission be withheld from you. So while we would want you to submit your 11th and 12th scores and tell us about, what you think you did in your 11th and 12th, I also want to say that this is not something that will poorly or positively affect your application. So this is just one of the things that we look at while we assess you and your candidature, but it's not the only area that we look at. And for the second part of the question, that maths at SL or HL. So as far as I know, maths, like a couple of courses are offered for mathematics, applications and interpretations, and also analysis and approaches. So we have a different policy for both these courses. So we do take analysis and approaches at SL and analysis and approaches at HL as well, but the university does not consider applications and interpretations for math courses at SL. So if this sounds a little confusing, I would again say that you should look at the website, because there is a document that will talk about the courses that we accept. So hopefully, that you will find it much easier when you work on your application if you look at that document.
Right, absolutely. Thanks, Kopal. All right, so the next question that we have is, could I upload LORs specific to some activities I have carried out in high school in the activities section?
Hi, so I'll take this question again. Before I talk about what sort of activities you can talk about in your LOR, I'll just briefly talk about the reason why we ask for a letter of recommendation. So, in your application, you would see that there's a lot of space for you to talk about yourself and for you to tell us about the things that you've done, your non-academic activities, your interests, personally who you are in your essays, even your academics. But the letter of recommendation really is a space for somebody else who has worked with you very closely to tell us about what they think of you in a professional capacity. Right. So that really means that you can really approach anybody with whom you've worked in a professional capacity. And often it could be a coach, it could be a dance teacher, it could be a yoga instructor, anybody with whom you have had some sort of a serious engagement with. So we know a lot of people have pursued some sort of an activity with a lot of rigor, with a lot of seriousness, and they do approach, their teachers, their instructors in that sphere to tell us about them, because they think that they will be the best to really give us another view, another perspective of this person. But if you think you don't have any activity of this sort, you can even approach a subject teacher, a principal, a school counselor to really talk about your engagement with things that really matter to you. So there's no rule here. You should see what works the best for you.
Right. All right. So the next question that we have is, I took a gap year and have enrolled at another institute for the course of this year. Can I include non-academic activities I've done during this time as well, or should it be more school-centric? Would having taken a gap year put me at a disadvantage when I apply?
I'll answer the latter half of the question first. Having a gap year does not put you at a disadvantage. We do have quite a few applications that come from candidates who have taken a gap year. And some of the candidates also have taken a gap year just to explore themselves as individuals haven't really enrolled in any such academic institution, so to say. In addition to that, you're free to talk about all the activities that you have undertaken in your gap year, activities that you're really engaged with, or activities that have caught your interest, new hobbies, new shows, new activities, anything. We urge you to talk about those. So yeah, it doesn't have to be academically oriented. You do have the freedom to kind of talk about other interests of yours, because often what happens is that if one takes a gap year, and even if one is not enrolled in an institution, one does explore a lot of gets a chance to explore many interests of theirs that they wouldn't have had a chance to explore before. So we really like hearing about these experiences that people have undertaken, or things that they have done. And there's no such emphasis again on on academic rigor, so to say, over here. But we do like to hear about what you have done in that year. So I'll just reiterate my point. No, it does not put you at a disadvantage. And no, it does not have to be academically oriented. We do like to hear about other interests that you have undertaken during the year.
Awesome. All right. So the next question is it necessary to submit a recommendation letter? And if due to some unforeseen circumstances, the recommender is not able to adhere to the submission deadline, does it affect my application in any way?
Kopal did answer a few questions around a letter of recommendation. Again, it's not like your application won't go forward if you fail to submit a recommendation letter, but we do urge candidates to kind of, have a letter of recommendation, because it just allows us to get to know you better as an individual from another perspective. The application does give you space to talk quite a bit about yourself, but when we read a letter of recommendation, it tells us more about you as individuals as others see you. And I'd also like to, talk about one point here is that, quite often when you put in the details of your recommenders, often they forget to write or fill in the letter of recommendation. So I'd advise you to, just keep in touch with your recommenders and kind of just ask them where they are in the process of submitting the recommendation, because oftentimes what happens is they kind of also forget that they have something like this that they have to do. So we do get a few applications where, often the recommenders have forgotten to fill in that particular aspect of the application. But then again, it does not exactly put you at a disadvantage. So there's nothing bad will happen if you've forgotten to submit the letter, or if your recommender has forgotten to kind of put in the letter. But then again, it does do you some good if we can kind of get to know, if we can get an idea about you as an individual from another perspective.
Awesome. All right. The next question that we have is on 17th of April, at what time would the assessments take place? Could you talk a little more about the assessment? So I'm just quickly going to answer this. We have already shared the link for the assessment in the chat box. Please have a look at that. The assessments would take place, anytime between 10 and 4:30 p.m. Am I right, Kopal? All right. So the students can log in at any point of time between then and give your assessments. Like it was said at the beginning, the assessment and the on-the-spot essay would take about 2 hours, where 90 minutes would go for your assessment and 30 minutes for your on-the-spot essay. Again, the link has been shared with you for the assessment and for the on-the-spot essay as well. Please have a look at that. And finally, the assessment is based on something called the Cambridge Thinking Skills Assessment, CTSAs. You can check out the sample paper, and please visit the website of CTSA at your own time, and have a look at a few more sample papers. We always say that all you have to do is practice a few sample papers and you're good to go for the assessment. You don't have to take any extra coaching. You don't have to take any extra classes. The assessment is very, very straightforward. The next question we have is the 400 essay more important than the 150 word essay?
I can take that question. There's no one particular component of the application that is more important than another component. I'd urge you to give your best to a 400-word essay as well as even a 100-word essay, because at the end of the day, you would also like to put forth your best application. So again, to repeat, no, there's no such there's no such thing that one aspect of your application is more important. They're all equally important, as they all allow us to get to know how you think, what your thinking processes are, what your perspectives are as an individual, and just give some insight to us that of you as an individual. So yeah.
All right. The next question that we have is, do you have provisions for a visually impaired student to do the assessment?
I'll take this question. So yes, in short, we do have a provision for that. But I would also tell you how to avail of that provision. So when you work on your application form, you will see that there's a section called Support at Ashoka. So in that section, you will see a couple of questions that will really help you with the admissions process. So there are two questions in that section. And there you can indicate the kind of support you will require during your assessment. And also, we do give out additional time for students who require additional time for their assessment. But additionally, if you require things like a scribe or any other support from us, do indicate that in that section so we can help you with your before your assessment. So in short, yes, we do offer, and please do fill that out in your application.
Awesome. All right. The next question we have is, what if someone has not read a lot of books on novels apart from the school course curriculum? Will it affect your admission chances?
I can take that question. No, it does not affect your admission chances. The reason we like candidates to fill in that particular session is, like, again, I've said, it gives us something additional to talk about in the interview, and also gives us an insight into who you are as a person and where your general interests lie. There are a lot of candidates we get whose interests lie in cinema, in movies, they don't really enjoy reading. So, these topics give us like something to talk about. So again, like, no, there is no specific disadvantage that candidates are at if they are not, if they are not avid readers, so to say, because there are other aspects to you as individuals, and we do like to get to know you completely as a person.
Awesome. All right. The next question is it better to apply under the undergraduate transfer application if I'm currently doing semester 2 in a different college and do not have the marks for either of the 2 semesters, or should I start a fresh application?
So I'll take this question, and before I take this question, I'll just generally talk about Ashoka's transfer program. So Ashoka recently, it's been a couple of years, Ashoka started a transfer program for students to transfer their credits to Ashoka from another educational institute, another university, not school. So students who have spent at least one entire academic year in some other educational institute and wish to transfer to Ashoka can apply through the transfer program. And the transfer program is similar to the undergraduate admissions program, but slightly different. And there is a different application form, and forms for the monsoon semester 2022 will open on 12th April. So to get to the question, if you do not have your mark sheets for either semester 1 or semester 2, unfortunately, you're not eligible to apply as a transfer student. So to apply as a transfer student, you should have finished one entire academic year, and you should have, actual proof to say that you have finished one academic year at another educational institute. So if you don't have either semester 1, semester 2, unfortunately, you can't apply, but you should also maybe look at the website, because this program has some very specific requirements from students. So if you think you are eligible and interested, maybe you can choose to apply as a transfer student. But for whoever asked this question, unfortunately, they can't.
Yeah. All right. The next question that we have is, does Ashoka have a preference for students from particular boards? Are NIOS students viewed favorably?
So I will take this question. So we do not have any preference for students from a particular board. It just so happens that a lot of applications that we receive, owing to them being applications from India, happen to be CBSE and also ISC. But we do not say that we have a preference for this. It's just that a lot of students in this country go to these schools. Having said that, we also receive a lot of applications from various state boards and even NIOS and boards like the IB and A levels. So these are all boards that apply to us, and we don't. People from NIOS can very happily apply to the university, and we do have students who have done their education under the NIOS at Ashoka. So that, and just to add another line before I stop talking, we also have a lot of students from other international countries who do not have any of the Indian boards in their country. So we also accept students from other countries. So we obviously do accept NIOS.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Gokul. So the next question that we have, so we have a few questions regarding the essays. So I think you guys can just take it from there. So what are some important tips that you would suggest for writing the essays in the application?
Sorry about that. So as of now, there is an essay question. There's a prompt that asks you to talk about like certain ideas that excite you, that you've been intrigued by. So, it can be anything. It doesn't specifically have to be academic. It can be anything that has caught your interest. It could be something as simple as, if I'm someone who likes cooking, I've kind of discovered how adding salt to desserts increases its sweetness, right? So, I could just kind of write a whole essay on this particular thing. So it doesn't really have to be anything that is specifically academic, and it's not like writing something academic is going to give you some bonus points, whereas writing something general is going to work in your disadvantage. No, there is no such thing. We do request that you do not plagiarize. That is one thing that you should really, be cognizant of. But apart from that, you just like kind of put your best foot forward. It doesn't really have to be extremely creative, or you don't have to put like, your English doesn't have to be impeccable. It can be completely simple, it can be completely you. We just want to get an idea of what your thinking process is like, what interests you have. So that's what the essays help us in doing. So it can be general, and it can be something about any topic that is of interest to you.
Awesome. All right. So just one more thing, Manat, I'd like to ask you that I'm reading this question. This one person is asking, do I write the essay as a third person, or do I narrate the incident? So how should they go about that particular thing?
It actually depends on you. You can definitely write it in third person. You can write it in various other forms that is of comfort to you, where you feel you've put your best work of writing forward. So there's no such, again, there's no such specific format which has to be followed when you're writing these essays. You do have the creative freedom to kind of choose what you want to do with the prompts that are given to you, because we do want to see what you do with them. We want to see how you engage with them. So yeah, it's up to you.
All right, thank you. Okay, I'm just going to take a few more questions myself, and I'll throw these last few questions to you. So I have a question over here. I have lived in Haryana for the entirety of my life, but I don't have the domicile certificate. So can I upload another document like the driver's license? Unfortunately not. To avail the benefits for a domicile, you have to upload the domicile certificate. In case you do not have the domicile certificate, do not worry. You can apply for the domicile certificate online. It's a fairly straightforward procedure. When you apply, there's a receipt that is received by you at the time of application. You can upload that receipt in your application, and we can consider your domicile, and you can share that with us, once the time comes. But we cannot accept any additional documents. It has to be either the certificate itself or the receipt to the certificate. I am a commerce student, and I have been preparing for management courses so far. What is my scope in Ashoka University? Well, you have a lot of scope at Ashoka. We don't have any restrictions as such. A lot of students from a commerce background really go after the economics and finance course. We also offer entrepreneurship, international relations as minors. So you can make your own combination and, really follow your interests, and at the same time, do something a little different from commerce, at the same time, keeping this commerce spirit alive as well. There are a lot of options. Please check out the courses that we offer on the website, and scope is pretty much limitless for you. Can we apply for multiple rounds or only one? You can only apply in any one of the 4 rounds that we are holding our admission processes for. You cannot apply multiple times. I want to try out psychology and philosophy, but have not studied these subjects in 11th and 12th. Therefore, I do not have much knowledge on these subjects. So would I opt for these subjects as one of my intended majors? Would I be asked questions on the subjects in the interview? Well, first of all, I like to take the interview question first. The interview, as it was said at the beginning, it's kind of a very, very general interview. We base it on the application. No specific academic questions will be asked as such. It can be very, very general as well. The aim of the interview is not to intimidate you in any way. It's not to scare you. It's to have a conversation with you and understand your application, through your own words. So you can definitely take up psychology and philosophy. You don't have to worry if you don't have them in the, in your 11th and 12th grades. As Manoj said in the beginning as well, we don't come to colleges as polished people. We learn at the university level, and the way the curriculum is set up at Ashoka as well, you'll be taught everything from the scratch, whether it's your foundation courses or when you take your majors and minors as well. So do not worry. All the academic support will be given to you at Ashoka. And that is what the university is, asking you to do as well. Take these foundation courses and then make your decision in the 4th semester, and then follow your passion to actually what you want to study. The next question is, can I send a letter of Ashoka's mail by my recommender for uploading our LOR? Do we upload the LOR ourselves or provide the contact information? So I have already mentioned this before. In the application, in your LOR section, we'll be asking for the recommender details. You have to fill in the recommender details. There is no alternative way to send your recommendation across to us. You have to follow that procedure. Fill in the recommendation details, and email goes out to your recommender, who then can upload your LOR by using the link that is there, and literally have to write it over there. Can the LOR be submitted after the application is submitted? So the application, comes in before. It may come in before, whereas the LOR has a different timeline. Again, the timelines are given on the website. So for round 3, your LOR can come to us literally 7 days after the application has been submitted. So the 6th of April is the deadline. That 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th is when your LOR can come to us. Am I right, Kopal Manat, with that? Awesome. All right. So do I have any more questions? All right. So over to you, back to you, the admissions team. We have a few more questions before we wrap up. So that's been asked. Around which dates will the interviews be held? After how many days of the written exam interviews are scheduled? How do I have an edge in my interview?
All right. So interviews typically happen, for round 3, they should happen either in the last week of April or the first week of May. So that's, and you will be told well in advance, and we know that you may have some sort of examinations coming up. So we will be cognizant of that. We'll be very considerate when we schedule interviews, and also the onus to pick a convenient time slot and a date is on you. So, you will have a wide selection of dates and you can select what really works for you. But for round 3, it should be either the last week of April or the first week of May. And the question about how to have an edge over the interview is a very tricky one, because I don't think you can really have an edge because the question sort of implies that there is a very comparative process in place, but that is not so. So the interview will be about you, about the things that you've told us in your application, and about the things that you want to talk to us about. So we won't really be comparing you with somebody else who we may have met earlier in that day. So the question of edge does not really then figure here. So what we would say from our experience of having met a lot of students is be as authentic as you possibly can. If you do not know things, it's okay to say, I don't know. Don't try to wing it, because it's very easy for us to say that you do not know the response to something. And go over the website, know the things that you have signed up for, know what is it about the university's academics that really appeal to you. Because, we know that you may be pressed for time, but we'd also want you to take your admission and take your, after school education very seriously. So that is also something that we would be very interested in seeing. So I suppose if an edge exists, this is possibly how you can have one.
Right. All right. Thanks for that, Gokul. The next question that we have is in the activity section, could I upload Google Drive link to all my dance videos and link to a website that I publish?
I can answer this one. The short answer is yes. You can definitely upload Google Drive links to like various activities that you have taken part in. We have come across various candidates who have given us the link to their Instagram pages for photography, for art. Some candidates have also been very generously agreed to perform some music for us during the interviews. So, there's a lot of creative freedom you have there. And we actually really love to see what you have done with your hobbies and with your interests. So yes, please do put your your links, to your artwork, to your music, dance. We do love to see them.
Awesome. All right. The next question that we have is I have done about 5 internships, but I have done other activities as well that I would like to mention under co-curricular activities. Would you suggest that I list all of them?
Yeah, definitely. But I would also suggest that you kind of list the activities that you have done for a length of time. Make sure you kind of list those, because it does show us that you've engaged with a particular activity for a long time. And it also kind of lets us know that you do have an interest in certain activities that you mentioned. I mean, one could kind of, take part in like 21-week activities and list all of them. But that doesn't really give us much, that doesn't really give us a lot to know about you as a person. So do list all your activities, but also make sure that, the activities that you're really engaged with are at the top of your list, because that really gives us an insight into the person you are, and also gives us a lot of talking points. If one makes it to the interview, it gives us a lot to talk about when it comes to your interests and, the activities that you've taken part in.
Right. The next question that we have is, do online courses count as non-academic activities?
Yes, they do. A lot of students, do take up a lot of courses that are not offered by their schools. So we do have a lot of candidates who come to us with an interest in philosophy, with an interest in psychology, science students who have taken up certain astronomy courses. So, especially with, these online with Coursera, with various online platforms that are providing students opportunities to explore their interests. A lot of people have taken up quite a few of these. So yes, please do mention these interests of yours, because as everyone, as you all might know, Ashoka is an interdisciplinary university. There's no one specific subject that, you're forced to kind of study throughout all 3 years. You're really given the freedom to mix and match various subjects of your liking and of your choosing. And so if you have done courses outside of like what has been mandated to you by the school, please do list them, because we also really love knowing about them, and like we do enjoy having conversations over these. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. So the next question that we have is, can we give our resume or LinkedIn profile and personal website somewhere?
So, I will just briefly talk about the application form. So, things that you would typically talk about on your resume or even your LinkedIn profile are things that the application form would have already gauged for, and in far greater detail than a resume. So, if you really fill your application form very well and comprehensively, I don't think that the need to attach your resume or a LinkedIn profile should really arise. But if you still feel that your application is a little incomplete without the two, you can maybe attach it, attach the link or a PDF in one of the activities in the non-academic activities and engagement section. However, I would still say that I don't think there is really a need for you to do that, because we also understand that a lot of high school students may not have either a resume or a LinkedIn profile. So it's not a requirement that we have mandated.
Right. All right. So next question that we have is, will the interviews be conducted by faculty or alumni? Is it conducted by a panel or just a single interviewer?
So typically, most interviews are done by 2 people. Sometimes we also have, single interviewer panels, but that's very rare. And since Ashoka admissions does not, look at a very discipline-specific admission, right? You're not given admission to a particular course or a particular program, you are given admission to the entire School of Liberal Arts. So interviews are not done by faculty because we do not want to see how well you know your domain or how well you know your subject-specific interests. We really want to see how interdisciplinary you are as a person and as a thinker. So in this regard, faculty does not participate in the interview process, but the panel does have a lot of alumni and does have a lot of people from the admissions team.
Right. Okay. The next question that we have is, if the SAT scores are already mentioned in the application, does one have to send them through the DI code as well?
So I would say yes, it's a good practice to send us your SAT scores using a DI score as well, DI code as well. And that being said, you do not have to pay College Board any additional fee to send us your SAT scores through the DI code. But you can obviously attach it in your application, but it's a good practice to also use the DI code.
Awesome. All right. I'm just going to quickly take the next couple of questions, and then I think we'll just wrap it up with a couple of more questions that I'll throw off to you, Gopal and Manat. So I have a question over here. I opened my application for round 3, but I'm choosing not to apply in this round because of personal reasons. I haven't submitted the application for round 3. Does this mean I cannot apply in round 4? Now that my name's already registered once? That does not mean you cannot apply in round 4. All you have to do is just continue with the same application, and you have to apply that or submit the application after the 6th of April, and automatically you'll be considered for round 4. The same application can be carried forward. So don't worry about that. How do you finance the fees? Are you into giving loan and financing? How does the financial aid work? The short and simple answer is that we provide you with a fee waiver. So if you apply for a need-based financial aid, depending on how much you qualify, you can get a waiver from anywhere ranging from 25% to a full 100%. So we offer a fee waiver, not loans and financing. So that's the financial aid and how it works for us. Let me just see. Any more questions for myself? No. So back to you, the admissions team. In the activity section, can I add the NGO I have volunteered and a letter of recommendation provided by them?
Yes, you can. But then again, I'd urge you not to provide recommendation letters by someone you just worked with for maybe like a week. Do provide letter of recommendations, from someone you worked with in a professional setting, first of all, and who knows you very well as a person, and who knows the work that you have done, who is very, very well versed with like what your interests are and how you are as a person in the said professional setting. So short answer is yes.
Awesome. All right. The next question that we have is, do the activities have to be achievement oriented?
It depends on what a definition of achievement is. If by achievement you mean, something that you have given exams in, given tests in, sure, mention those, but you can also mention something as simple as, if you've learned how to maybe like cook in like a week or something, talk about those interests of yours, that is also an achievement of sort. So achievement does not only have to be academic and does not only have to be something which you have been pursuing for a number of years. Please do mention other interests also that you have kind of engaged with.
Awesome. All right. So just the last couple of questions before we wrap it up. I am a YouTuber and I make videos regarding political issues. How can I send you my YouTube link?
So in the non-academic activities and engagement section, you will see there's a description. So you can really talk about what really got you into YouTubing and the particular area of interest within making YouTube videos that you have. So you can use the description box to talk about that. And you can also attach your link either in the description box, or you can attach your link as a part of your attachment. So it's very simple. You just have to make a document. On that document, you have to copy paste your channel's link and we'll be able to access that. So in a particular section in your application, you can attach that.
Sweet. Does AP exams have value for admissions, and are credits given at Ashoka?
So the AP exams do have some value at the time of admissions, but we do not award you any credits for that once you begin college, once you begin university at Ashoka. And AP exams, the sort of merit they hold at the stage of application is just to gauge your interest and the rigor and your interest really in a particular discipline. So we know a lot of students who are interested in economics and feel that their school economics is not enough. So they also do AP courses in order to enhance what they already know of economics. So in this case, it's very commendable for us to see young people going out of their way to really satiate their curiosity. But that's about it. Once you get admission, I don't think we do much with your AP scores.
All right, cool. So I'm just going to take the last couple of questions. I have a question here. When will the decision for round 3 be declared? The decision for round 3 will be declared around the 27th of May. And again, I'd like to reiterate that round 3 deadline is scheduled for the 6th of April. Please do apply. It's a brilliant time for you all to apply right now. You do not need your final board marks to apply. We can give you a full decision even before your board marks are announced. So this would be the perfect time for you all to apply. You have plenty of time to work on your application. So do that. The outreach team is always available for you. So please reach out to us for any help regarding your application. Will this webinar be available for viewing at a later date? Yes. The university will share a link with you, a YouTube link with you, and you can view it on YouTube itself. So I think we are done with our questions. So I'm just going to quickly wrap it up. Thank you for joining us today. We hope that this webinar was really helpful in resolving all your queries regarding Ashoka's undergraduate program. We would really appreciate it if you could just take a minute to share your valuable feedback with us. The link for the feedback form is provided in the chat box. Please note that the recording of this session will be available on Ashoka's YouTube channel in case you would like to share it with your friends or view it at a later stage as well. Before we wrap up today, I would like to inform once again to our audience, round 3 admissions to Ashoka's undergraduate program are open. The deadline for round 3 is the 6th of April. You do not have to wait for your 12 board marks to apply. You can get a confirmed offer of admission and financial aid even before your results are announced. If you have any further queries or questions regarding various other aspects of the university, you can write to us at ugapply@ashoka.edu.in. You can also call on the contact number that is being displayed on the screen. And this brings us to the end of this session. Thanks, Kopal and Mannat. And thank you, everyone in the audience. Please take care and stay safe. All the best, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.